Private and non-government organizations are joining relief efforts for quake-hit victims in Mindanao. Now, Save the Children Philippines is one of them, and yesterday the group went to Mindanao to distribute plastic sheets to serve as temporary shelters and hygiene kits in one of the hardest hit areas, Makilala, North Cotabato. And to tell us more about this, we are joined this morning by Jerome Balinton. Good morning, Jerome. And Jerome here is a humanitarian manager of Save the Children Philippines. Thank you so much for being with us this morning.
Good morning, Christine, and thank you for having us.
Well, Jerome, you led the Save the Children team who assessed the situation in North Cotabato and Davao del Sur right after the quake. Now, what did you see?
Right now, the situation in Davao del Sur and North Cotabato in the affected communities by the earthquake is really serious. For example, in terms of evacuation centers, privacy is an issue right now for children and women because for women and children to change clothes, they just have to use blankets. There are no private quarters. And there's an issue of lack of electricity supply in evacuation centers. So going to the toilets, for example, at night is a problem for the evacuees. Now, in terms of education, around 3.2 million children are missing out education or classes because of the suspension of classes or damaged classrooms. And out of these 3.2 million, 2 million are in regions 11 and 12, the regions that are severely affected by the earthquake. And actually, per the latest report of the Department of Education yesterday, there are around 505 totally damaged classrooms, which, if left unaddressed immediately, can create ripple of effects. For example, children being dropped out of school or being forced into labor or being prone to other protection risks.
Now, how many families would you say are displaced because of the earthquake?
Yes. The number of evacuees, the number of displaced population increased rapidly following the 6.6 earthquake in October 29, and then another one, 6.5 magnitude, on October 31. Because their houses, the stability of their houses have become compromised. So the families prefer to either live in evacuation centers or camp outside their homes. So right now, there are more than 37,000 families that are affected. And this is equivalent to more than 185 individuals. And this figure is a lot.
Yeah.
Affected populations are increasing, and the need, for example, for psychosocial, for hygiene kit, for water, for education is increasing as well.
What would you say would be the common problems that are faced when you are in evacuation centers?
Yes.
You mentioned something about privacy, so that would be one concern that they are facing.
Another concern that that the government and other non-government organizations should look at is the concern for clean drinking water and water for domestic use. Kasi after aftershocks, the turbidity level of water is so high kasi nagagalaw yung lupa. So hindi din magamit ng mga tao, ng mga evacuees, yung water for domestic use. So it's one of the concerns right now. Another one is sanitation. Evacuation centers have very limited sanitation facilities that can cater to a lot of evacuees na nakatira doon sa temporary taking shelter in those evacuation sites.
So with that, if we had to prepare a package to donate, what would you say would be the best items that we can donate to help these families, considering that, with all these problems that they are facing?
To address the need for hygiene essentials, we would recommend family hygiene kits. And sana hindi ito yung isang bigayan lang. Sana ito yung package which is good for a family of 6 for 1 month.
Give us an example of what is in a family hygiene kit.
Yes. Just to mention, yesterday we have distributed around 400 family hygiene kits to 400 families in Makilala. And the standard package of family hygiene kit, which is good for a family of 6 and good for 1 month, includes hygiene essentials like toothbrush, toothpaste, bath soap, towels, detergent, that the family and the children can use to prevent the spread of diseases. Kasi when hygiene needs are not addressed, it can create other serious problems. Like, as mentioned during the news report, nagkakasakit na yung mga bata.
Hawa-hawa na rin yan
Yes,
because they all live together. So now we come through you, Save the Children Philippines. How do you fit in and how do you deploy all of these donations to the people? Not only earthquake victims, but you also do, you know, big storm victims.
Yes. So in close coordination with local government units and national government agencies like the Department of Education, we provide what is needed by this affected
So
population.
you already sent a team, like you mentioned earlier, you
Yes.
sent a team out to figure out what is needed, and then they come back to you and you say, okay, ito yung mga
Yes.
kailangan, so let's send these.
Yes. Right after the earthquake on October 30, we immediately sent out trained personnel to do rapid
To assess.
assessment, to talk to children, ano ba yung pangangailangan, ano yung sitwasyon nila. And that give us a concrete idea on what Save the Children Philippines can do to immediately address the needs of these affected children and their families. And dun nga lumabas yung pangangailangan nila for family hygiene kits, for water kits, for plastic sheets that they can use as emergency shelter. And of course, the need for the immediate resumption of classes in safe learning environment. I mentioned that there are around 505 totally damaged classrooms. Ang dami nito. At ang daming bata na affected kapag hindi natin nasigurado yung immediate resumption of classes. Right now, classes are still suspended. And for example, the North Cotabato provincial government said they will only lift the suspension of classes kung na-assess na lahat ng schools
buildings.
para masigurado yung seguridad ng mga bata. And while doing that, and while waiting for the reconstruction of these classrooms, Save the Children Philippines, and this is one of our activities, is to provide temporary learning spaces and teaching kits to ensure that these children and the teachers can immediately resume their classes.
Because I guess what's also important for these children, these families, is to go back to their normal way of life as best as they can.
Yes,
Considering the situation, just to, you know, give them a bit more of a positive attitude that we are moving forward. I thank you so much for joining us today. And
Thank
for all
you.
the donations, please do invite, where can they send the donations?
For donations, please visit savethechildrenphilippines.org.ph. It's our website, and you can find the details there on how you can help the children and their families that are affected by the earthquake in Mindanao.
Wonderful. Thank you so much. Save the Children Philippines Humanitarian Manager Jerome Balinton with us this morning.
Thank you
here
so
in New Day.
much.